thought that it received the wave of the nod from Mr. Ash, the producer-engineer, introducing Viewpoint. And we have with us to my right, nothing to my left, the Honorable, lovely Mrs. Busby. Good morning, Judith K.
You know, I have thought from time to time about finding new friends, but I don't think I will. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, does it?
No.
Not so much.
How are you this morning?
Swell, and yourself?
Well, I'm no worse. Able to play golf, stand vertical is a wonderful thing. We're going to fool around too much this morning. We have two great guests that we want to take advantage of their time this morning. We're going to talk about interesting things for going on here at Logan County right away. The old man does have a couple things he likes to start with Viewpoint. Number one, kudos. Let's go out to Eaton Industries. They're at the north end of Union Street. And as we all know, or should know, they have been very, very instrumental and very helpful with the youth football program. And not only they donated the field, or not to use the field at least, for the practice in their games. Now we have a nice new shed put up out there to house equipment and so forth. So kudos to Eaton for that. And, you know, they've been, from day one since they came here as Cutler Hammer, they've been involved in the community, and we appreciate that very much. Now the soapbox. As you know, I have very, very, very definitive feelings about this integration problem. These are not dreamed up. These are statements which have been made by the individuals, and one was on the Los Angeles City Council, a Hispanic, who says they're afraid we're going to take over the government institutions and other institutions. They're right. We will take them over. We're here to stay. A professor at the University of Texas says, we have an aging white America. They're not making babies. They are dying. The explosion in our population is us, and I love it. They are in their pants with fear, and I love it. Here's a gentleman of the California Democratic Party says, remember, Proposition 187 is to deny taxpayers' funds for services to a non-citizen. That was the last gasp of white America in California.
Isn't that special? We can learn to love each another and all get along and progress together.
Yeah. Well, that's part of our immigration problem. Now, let's get serious, and why don't you introduce our guest? Although I was very serious about this immigration problem. By the way, old Tom Jefferson.
Yeah.
The old guy was pretty smart. He said, was the government to prescribe to us our medicine and our diet, our bodies would be in such keeping as our souls are now. Tom Jefferson.
Ooh, doggies. Well, we are going to talk with Andi Hake, and she, of course, is the director of the Greater Lincoln Area Chamber of Commerce. And thank you for that. That's
Jim's Cat House is operating again.
That's the fine print on my contract that says other duties is assigned, and it means let the cat out.
Well, I took care of that for you.
Well, God love you. That and the nice man is Chris Graue.
Good morning.
Good morning yourself. Now, Chris, you got a new event that's kind of at the coattails of the.
It's a culinary event, isn't it?
It is a culinary event, and it's Art Fair and Balloon Fest time. And that'll be the 26th through the 28th, which is coming up like not this weekend.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah,
so be ready. I think it would be appropriate for everybody to pray for some really nice weather.
Like we're enjoying right now today.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be much appreciated.
Yes.
So start
Yes.
praying in Logan County.
Yes. It could rain from now until then.
Lots of rain, and we ought to have it just before the fest.
Sure.
And just the right amount of wind, of course. I guess you've probably ordered all that, though, by now, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, already. Taken care of.
Well, you've got the balloons. We just, even as we speak, we took care of the weather problem.
Yes.
And the people, of course, will be coming because everybody loves it, and they come from near and far. So the only glitch we've got right now is,
Volunteers.
Yes. And that,
Or
I know
backup
it's a big
Define how a
job.
volunteer can help you, Andi.
Well,
Pull that
specifically,
mic in just to go closer, dear. Thank you.
Specifically, where we need help right now is admissions and parking out at the airport, where the hot air balloon portion of the festival takes place. We have our live bands come out and many other new components this year. But we need help parking all those 3,000 cars and letting the people come in and taking their money and giving them wristbands and all of that. And it could be disastrous if we don't get it. They all come through. They always come through for us. But this year, I think everybody's just waiting till the last minute. So we need people to get in there and get signed up and help out.
Speaking of parking, I digress just a moment. I see an article about tailgating.
Yes.
Now, tell us, we all know what tailgating is, but tell us how that relates to the Balloon Fest and your parking out there.
Well, this came about years ago before my time. They had what was called corporate chalets out at the fairgrounds.
Yes.
And they tried to, I think, bring that to the airport, but it's not really set up in a way that's conducive to
Physically not there.
Yeah. So what we do is we have this space that we rent out to people that want to come, and they can either set up tents or literally back their trucks up and tailgate and cook out and just have parties. A couple of our businesses have taken advantage of it, where they'll put up a tent and do either customer appreciation or staff appreciation, and they'll have little parties for the employees. And it's just a really nice way to treat your employees or your customers or your friends or family to a VIP type situation at the festival. It's really not that expensive.
And Chris, how is your participation coming?
Well, it's come along pretty well. I've told a couple people the last couple days that this date, August 26th and 27th, has always been looming way off in the distance.
Yeah.
And all of a
Here it
sudden,
is.
it's right here and right now.
Yeah.
And we're organizing, and we're going to host a sanctioned barbecue contest downtown that's sanctioned by Kansas City Barbecue Society. Right now, we've got 26 teams signed up, and these are considered professional teams that travel the circuit and cook barbecue competitively pretty much every weekend. And we've got a pretty sizable purse. We've got $8,000 in prize money that's being sponsored by local businesses. And the larger teams, some of the larger teams will come in Thursday evening and set up after 6 o'clock. And then Friday morning, the balance of the teams will come in. I think we've got 6 teams coming in Thursday night, and then the balance of them right now, the rest of the 20 will show up on Friday. So downtown will be a tremendous buzz when these guys come in and set up.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a pretty exciting deal. A friend of mine, Rick Jansen, and I do a lot with Boy Scouts. We both cook. We both enjoy cooking. We went to a couple barbecue competitions last year. I got certified as a judge with my brother in Chicago a year ago February. And we went to a couple competitions. Andi and I had talked about it 2-3 years ago, just kind of conversation. Hey, let's look at doing this. And then we went to a competition in Taylorville last year, and we had approached the chamber last year about actually doing it. We went and saw it, and we thought, we've got to bring this to Lincoln. This is something that would really take off. Let's do it.
And it will.
And we pushed it forward. We met with Andi again, and things just started falling into place, and here we are. We still think that we're going to hit. I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to hit our number of 30, but possibly I've been placing bets on the number of 35. Right now we've got 26, and a lot of these teams, because of the economy and the cost to enter and the cost of the meat to cook, they wait until the last minute to make sure that they can attend, and then there's a flood of entries at the end. So
And the travel. Yes. I suppose they come from all over.
Primarily, we've got a lot of entries from Missouri, primarily from Illinois, but we've got probably our farthest entry so far, I think the guys from down by Columbia, Missouri, so it's quite a jaunt. There's a number of them from the Chicago area, and some of these names of some of these teams is just comical.
Oh, can you think of a couple off the top of your head just for the nuts of it?
Porkraham Lincoln. Notorious PIG. Wow. There's one that is 4 smoking butts. And
That's really Andy, this could be a good spectator draw, too. I predict that Criswell predicts, you know. But seriously, I think we will have a big crowd down there. This is going to be a big draw down there, Chris.
We certainly hope so.
Yeah.
I think so.
We're anticipating that it will bring a much larger crowd. We've done some things to prepare for it. One of the things that we're doing is we're offering free trolley service around downtown because the streets are going to be a little more congested and harder to walk. And it is a distance from Latham Park to Scully Park. So we've got these nice open trolleys that the Apple and Pork Festival from Clinton has. We're doing a nice little trade with them, so we'll have them with the tractors, and they'll be pulling people around all around downtown. So if people have kind of stayed away in the past because of mobility issues, it's free. They stop and pick up anywhere along the road, and they drop off anywhere they want to be dropped off.
You just hail them?
Go ahead.
You just hail them like a Chicago cab?
Yep. Only you're hailing a tractor now.
Oh, you're hailing a tractor.
Well, the difference
Only
is
in Logan County.
Only in Logan
the
County.
trolley operators will speak English in Chicago. That doesn't happen. Seriously, the contestants, are you going to be around a square, Chris, or how is
Yeah,
it going to be physically set up?
We've got a big X downtown. It's the intersection of McLean and Pulaski Street. We go from Bennett's Funeral Home down to the Oasis, and from the post office down to the old Graue Motors building and the Broadway side of the courthouse. We're only going to use the Broadway side of the courthouse if we fill up completely. That's going to be considered overflow. But the acceptance by the help from the chamber, and then we presented it to the chamber presented the street closure proposal to the county board, or to the city. The county board's gotten on board. Everybody has just been really, really supportive of this thing. We did a certified judges class here in town. We had Kansas City Barbecue Society come in late April, and we hosted a class, and we certified 37 local judges.
Oh, my.
We had somebody fly back all the way from Washington, D.C. to be with one of their relatives, and unfortunately the lady she came back to visit, the lady that brought her nephew back, she passed away. Jean Gala passed away about a month ago, unfortunately.
Yes,
Pretty sad
she
about
did.
that.
Bless
But
her heart.
just the buzz about barbecue. I'm very close to the event, so I hear a lot about it, but I've got so many people asking me about it and mentioning it that they're going to come. And KCBS, Kansas City Barbecue Society, estimates it'll bring 3,000 to 5,000 additional people to town. Now, whether or not it does with the 15 to 20 that we've already got here, I don't know, but I really think that downtown Lincoln is going to be jam-packed with people wanting to see this event.
I guess it goes without saying that the recipes of each individual contestant, they're sacrosanct. They're not going to reveal their recipes because that's their specialty, and that's how they...
It's kind of amazing when you do approach these guys. There are certain things, certain techniques that they won't share. But if you have a question, most of the time, if you walk up to their cook site, as long as you don't invade their space, they'll share stuff with you. There are different components of their rub and their injection marinade and different sauces and things like that is probably pretty closely guarded. But as far as techniques and how they do it, a lot of them will just... I cooked in Taylorville 3 weeks ago or a month ago down at the event that they had down there, and last year's national champion was 4 spaces down from me. And I met the guy last year, and I was down. I went down and talked to him half a dozen times and just kind of discussing different things, and after very, very willing to share secrets and how they were doing things and what temperature they were cooking at and what he was using for seasoning and different things. And it's a pretty, these guys, it's a really, really rigorous event when you go down from the planning and the preparation of the meat. And pork shoulder and brisket has to cook 14 to 16 hours, and then ribs go on, they cook for about 5, chicken goes on for about 2, and all this stuff has got to be turned in starting at noon. Chickens, no, let me think here. Ribs are the first thing that are turned in. Ribs, chicken, pulled pork, and then brisket in 30-minute increments. So some of this stuff's been cooking for 14 to 16 hours, and then they have to time it so all the stuff's turned in accordingly in that time frame. And they have a 10-minute window to turn in, 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after the top or the bottom of the hour. And if they miss that window, their entry doesn't get scored. So they have to make sure that the timing's right on it.
Where do we get the expertise, the judging expertise?
Well, it's something that you do by signing up. You have to go and become certified and become a certified judge, which I am, my wife is, both my brothers are. And then you just have to go out and start signing up to go judge contests. I was able to judge at Taylorville last year. I wasn't able to get on the list, but I went ahead and went down. And they have a problem with no-show judges where people will sign up and then not show up.
Yeah.
So,
Doesn't that make you torqued?
yeah, and I was on a wait list, and they called me. I left my cell phone number, and they called me, and I was able to actually go in and judge. It was the first
Good.
contest I was able to judge. And I did that because I wanted to see what the judges see, so from my own experience, so when I
Surely.
go and do competition, I'd have more expertise to know what the judges are looking for.
You know, it would be such fun for all the participants, because I'm sure they all go back and forth to one another and talk about how long they've done this
Oh,
and
sure.
what they like best and all the kind. It's for any group of people who have a like interest.
It's a Friday night's going to be a really neat atmosphere because we're going to have our judges or our cooks meeting and dinner at 5 o'clock in the wine tent. Those guys will get done with that probably by 6 or 6, and then they go back to their respective sites. They fire up their charcoal, and then they'll start putting on the pork shoulder and brisket 7, 8, 9 o'clock, and then after that, it's a big social gathering. These
Sure.
guys hang out, and of course they enjoy a cocktail. And
Huh. Think
Oh,
of
I'm
that.
shocked.
in their site, and
Just shocked.
everybody just kind of walks around and talks to each other, and it's really. When we went to Taylorville, I went to Taylorville with Jim Bishop, and we just had a blast. It was a lot of fun. We didn't score very well, but we still had fun.
Well, see, so nothing is ever a loss. You just have to appreciate
Sure.
the gains you get.
What is the meat of choice for you? As you just for your own backyard at home? If you're cooking out for a group, what's your meat of choice?
I've gotten pretty good at ribs, and probably the one that's the hardest to cook has taken me the longest to perfect is brisket. And that's the meat that I started cooking 14, 15 years ago. My wife and I were at the state fair, and there was a stand called Cowboy Barbecue, and they had this sandwich called the Big 'Un, which was a brisket sandwich, and I'd never had it before. I think the day that I was there that I tried it, I ate 3 of them, and I said after the third one,
Well,
Was
doesn't
it pretty
show.
nummy?
I got to figure out how to cook this. So brisket's kind of a trick. There's some tricks to the trade to get it to come out right, and
Really?
it's low and slow, and there's a couple tricks that you have to do along the way to make it turn out right, and it's pretty darn good.
Now, what number of judges does a person have to have for a contest of this size?
1 per team, and then you have to have a table captain for every 6 judges. So if you have 42 teams, you need 42 judges plus 7 table captains. You have to have a table captain for every team. You have 6 judges sitting at a table, and then you have to have a table captain that's kind of like in charge of that particular group. So each, in increments of 6, if you have 6 teams, you have to have 7 judges because one has to be a table captain.
Holy Friday, you got quite a recruitment job there.
And we're 100% certified right now with our KCBS judges, and that's big with the teams because the more teams that are in attendance are competing, and the higher the percentage of KCBS certified judges, the more points they get for the national championship. So it's really important to them that there's enough of a pool of certified judges to draw from. That's one of the reasons why we did our class, to make sure that we had enough certified judges here.
Right.
Now, do you use wood, and the other contestants use wood for smoking and so forth right along?
Most everybody uses hardwood lump charcoal and then some type of seasoning wood. I prefer apple wood. A lot of guys will use regular Kingsford, but I've found with my cooker, regular Kingsford, the briquettes don't get hot enough for the size cooker that I've got, so I have to use hardwood lump charcoal.
Do the people have a charcoal grill that they bought, or do you have to make one that's special for your needs?
A lot of them have fabricated them themselves. A lot of them buy ready-made, assembled cookers. I had mine built by a gentleman up in Peoria, Custom Cookers. And it's purely to specification. You tell him what you want. He's got a couple particular models that they'll build, and then you add what accessories you want. And I remember very clearly the day that I told my wife I was going to order this thing.
And she said, say what?
She just didn't say much.
Among other things.
My wife says this hobby has gone from hobby to obsession.
That'll happen. Now, what do all these nice people do with their product?
Well, they do have quite a bit. When the teams cook, they do have quite a bit of food left over, but
I would think.
the competitors do not pass out, or they're very limited on what they pass out for samples. Number one, the meat's very expensive. It's expensive to cook,
Yeah.
And we do have vendors that are going to be there that are going to be selling barbecue. And the competitors don't want to handicap or have a bad effect on the vendor's ability to sell barbecue.
Sure.
Because they're there to
Makes
service
sense.
the public. And that was one of the things when we first approached the chamber, that we were told at the beginning, we're reluctant, or we don't really want to add more vendors. But then we came back and said, well, you know, if the crowd's going to come and they're going to see all these people cooking, the competitors don't vend, we've got to be able to serve barbecue to the general public. So then it was discussed, and we decided to add 4 vendors and leave it limited at that. We've got 4 really, really good-sized vendors coming, and we have one guy from Jacksonville that finished 5th in ribs at Memphis in May, which is one of the largest barbecue competitions in the nation.
How many people come to that?
To Memphis in
Competitors.
May, or to Memphis in May, competitors. 70 teams.
Wow.
So it's
Yeah,
a
I'm
big
just
event.
thinking this is a slice of Americana. You know, this is a kind of this is the Norman Rockwell thing. It's in modern day
You
Americana.
don't get much more American than barbecue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no
like
kidding.
concerts in the park. Thank goodness for people like you who come up with all these ideas for us so we can be Norman Rockwellian.
I think we ought to take it at this minute. We want to get back to the balloons. We want to get back there. Probably at this minute we'll take a station break for a commercial or two, and then we'll get right back here